Introduction to the immune system. From this lecture you will learn about immune system, lymphoid organs, hematopoietic stem cells, innate immunity, innate and adaptive immunity, and types of adaptive immunity. So first we will learn about the basic terminologies that are used in immunology, like immunity. Immunity is defined as resistance to disease, specifically infectious diseases. Next we have immune system. It is the collection of cells, tissues, and molecules that mediate resistance to infections. Another definition we have of immune response. Immune response is the coordinated reaction of immune cells as well as molecules. These cells and molecules react to infectious microbes. Immunology. Immunology is the study of the immune system, which includes its responses to microbial pathogens and damaged tissues and its role in diseases. The most important physiological function of the immune system is to prevent or eradicate infections. They eliminate infections with the help of different cells of immune systems. It prevents the growth of some tumors, and some cancers can be treated by stimulating immune responses against tumor cells. Immune responses also participate in the clearance of dead cells and initiating tissue repair. Now that you have the idea of immunology and its basic terms, we will study about the different organs, tissues, and immune cells that combined make an immune system. We have two types of lymphoid organs, but first we will learn about the definition of lymphoid organs. What are lymphoid organs? These are specialized tissues that provide the anatomic location and microenvironment in which lymphocytes achieve phenotypic and functional maturity. We have two types of lymphoid organs. The first one is primary lymphoid organs. Like its name shows that it is a primary lymphoid organ, which means that the immune cells generation start from this place. It regulates the development of immune cells from immature precursors. It includes bone marrow and thymus. Secondary lymphoid organs. It coordinates the encounter of antigen with antigen-specific lymphocytes and their development into effector and memory cells. The cells become antigen-specific in secondary lymphoid organs. Blood vessels and lymphatic systems connect these organs, which unite them into a functional whole. All of them together work to defend a pathogen. The secondary lymphoid organs include spleen, lymph node, and specialized sites in the gut and other mucosal tissues. Hematopoietic stem cells. All functionally specialized mature blood cells, which include red blood cells, granulocytes, macrophages, dendritic cells, and lymphocytes. All these mature blood cells arise from a single cell type, which is called hematopoietic stem cells. As we know, stem cells have ability to differentiate into any type of specific cell. That's why the term stem cells is used here, because these cells, these hematopoietic stem cells, they can differentiate into any type of immune cell like red blood cells, granulocytes, and lymphocytes. So what is hematopoiesis? This is the process by which hematopoietic stem cells differentiate into mature blood cells, and we know that, just like we talked about, the two primary lymphoid organs that are responsible for the development of stem cells into mature immune cells. The bone marrow, where hematopoietic stem cells reside and give rise to all cell types, and the thymus, where T cell complete its maturation. Innate immunity. Host defenses, which provides immediate protection against microbial invasion, are grouped under innate immunity. Innate immunity is also called as natural immunity or native immunity. It is always present in healthy individuals. That's why it is termed as innate. It blocks the entry of microbes and rapidly eliminates microbes that do succeed in entering host tissues. In innate immunity, the first line of defense is provided by epithelial barrier of the skin and mucosal tissues, and by the cells and natural antibiotics present in epithelia. All these function to block the entry of microbes. Our skin helps in blocking the microbes from entering into our body with the help of its epithelial barrier and the other antibiotics that are produced in epithelia. If microbes do breach epithelia, if microbes they cross the epithelia and enter the tissue or circulation, they are attacked by phagocytes and specialized lymphocytes, which are called innate lymphoid cells. These cells include natural killer cells and several plasma proteins, including the proteins of the complement system. Here in this diagram you can see the innate and adaptive immunity and the different cells that play their roles in these immunities. If you look at the left side, the innate immunity, the epithelial barrier, dendritic cells, phagocytes, mast cells, natural killer cells, and the complement proteins, all of these work together to prevent microbe from entering into the body. But if this microbes is successful in crossing these barriers and it enter into the body, into the system, then another immune system is also activated, that is adaptive immunity. The cells of adaptive immunity are mainly B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes are activated with the help of the antigen presenting cells that present the part or the fragment of antigen of that pathogen to these cells, which activate them and they proliferate into effector cells. While the B lymphocytes, they are activated and they produce antibodies. These antibodies work against these microbes as well as they generate plasma cells which produce antibodies as well as they produce memory cells. Role of the immune system. Here you can see from this table as well the role of the immune system and its implications. So immune system, it helps in defense against infections. If the immunity is deficient, it results in increased susceptibility to infections like AIDS, and vaccination, it boosts the immune defenses and protects against infections. Immune system have role in defense against tumors. The potential for immunotherapy of cancer. The immune system can injure cells and induce pathologic inflammation. Its implication: immune responses are the cause of allergic, autoimmune, and other inflammatory diseases. These immune cells, they induce pathological inflammations, but they can also cause allergies, autoimmune, and inflammatory diseases. The immune system recognized and respond to tissue grafts and newly introduced proteins. But we know that it respond or recognize the tissue grafts, but at the same time it is creating a problem, a barrier to transplantation and gene therapy. Adaptive immunity. Adaptive immunity develops more slowly and provides more specialized defenses against infection. Adaptive immunity is also called as specific immunity or acquired immunity. Why? Because this immunity is acquired later in life. It requires expansion and differentiation of lymphocytes in response to microbes before it can provide effective defense, which is why it takes some time to be activated. The adaptive immune system consists of lymphocytes and their products such as antibodies. Effective for infectious microbes that are pathogenic for humans and may have evolved to resist innate immunity. The cells of adaptive immunity, which are also known as lymphocytes, they express receptors that specifically recognize a much wider variety of molecules produced by microbes as well as substances produced by them. Types of adaptive immunity. There are two types of adaptive immunity. These two main types are humoral immunity and cell-mediated immunity. Humoral immunity. This immunity is mediated by proteins called antibodies. These antibodies are produced by cells called B lymphocytes. The secreted antibodies enter the circulation and mucosal fluids, where they neutralize and eliminate microbes and microbial toxins that are present outside host cells in bodies. One of the most important functions of antibodies is to stop microbes that are present at mucosal surfaces and in the blood. They stop it from gaining access to and colonizing host cells and connective tissues, which will ultimately cause infection. Types of adaptive immunity. We just talked about humoral immunity. Here you can see in this diagram the microbe, that is extracellular microbe. It is activating the B lymphocyte, which are the B lymphocyte are responding to these extracellular microbes, which activates these B lymphocytes, and they start to secrete antibodies, which is its effector mechanism. By secreting antibodies, it blocks the infection and eliminate extracellular microbes from the body. The other type of adaptive immunity is cell-mediated immunity. There are two types. Here you can see a phagocytosed microbe that can live within macrophage. This microbe is engulfed by a macrophage. Now this activates a helper T lymphocyte. The helper T lymphocyte binds to this macrophage, which activates it, and the elimination of phagocytosed microbes starts. The other case is the killing of the infected cells, which is done by the cytotoxic T lymphocytes. The intracellular microbes, for example viruses, they replicate within infected cells, which damage the host cell. These damaged cells release different chemicals which activate cytotoxic T lymphocytes, and these cytotoxic T lymphocytes, they kill the infected cells and eliminate reservoir of infection from the body. Cell-mediated immunity. Defense against intracellular microbes is called cell-mediated immunity because it is mediated by cells which are called T lymphocytes, just like we talked about it in the diagram. Some T lymphocytes activate phagocytes, which destroy the microbe that have been ingested by the phagocyte into intracellular vesicles. T lymphocytes also kill any type of host cell that are having any infectious microbes in the cytoplasm. Most T cells recognize only protein antigens. This is the difference between these two. Whereas B cells and antibodies can recognize many different types of molecules, including proteins, carbohydrates, nucleic acids, and lipids. Here is a short summary of this lecture. All the things that we discussed in this lecture are summarized here. So these main points are: the immune system, it is the collection of cells, tissues, and molecules that mediate resistance to infections. We have two Main types of lymphoid organs that help in the maturation of immune cells. Now we have two types of immunity, innate immunity and adaptive immunity. The difference between these two is that innate immunity is natural immunity, it is a quick response, and it is not specific immune response. While the adaptive immunity, it is the second or later immune response. It provides slow but specific immune response. Now we have two types of adaptive immunity, humoral immunity and cell-mediated immunity. Humoral immunity is mediated by proteins which are called antibodies. These antibodies are produced by B lymphocytes or B cells. Defense against intracellular microbes is called cell-mediated immunity because it is mediated by cells which are called T lymphocytes.